Hi everybody, my name is Conrad Lisperati on Twitter. You probably haven't heard of me, but if you have, it would be because of my Land of Lisp book or some other books that I've worked on. I just wanted to share a little open source app that I've been working on. It's called ZEK. So ZEK stands for Zig Editor of Knowledge. So it's a node editing tool written in the Zig programming language. The main thing about it is that it's a Roam-inspired note-taking system that's also a line editor. So let me talk a little bit about Roam. There's a philosophy around note-taking called Zettelkasten, which is a German word. The main idea about that system is it has two kind of unique features. One is you do not organize your notes in a hierarchical way. Instead, you rely on heavy linking between notes to make sense of your information. The other thing that Zettelkasten systems do is they have backlinks. So if you link to something from one note, then there will be some record in that note of who linked to it, and that can be very valuable. So there's lots of software systems that implement Zettelkasten. They are usually called PKMS systems. The most well-known one is by a company called Roam Research, which is a browser-based implementation. Now, most of these systems are browser-based implementations, but the main purpose of these systems is to essentially act as a second brain where you can store very deeply connected notes that you want to be able to access quickly. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really want to use a web browser as my second brain. It's not really the right type of tool. I want something that's more reliable and faster and predictable. Now, people have tried to build systems that use a terminal. The most well-known is Roam mode for Emacs. And I love me some Emacs, but the thing I don't like about Roam mode is it has way too many features, and it still has a lot of complexity related to how you interact with it. What I wanted to do is build a PKMS style system that is based on a line editor app. So what is a line editor? A line editor is the type of editor that people used to use on teletype systems like this. So the way you use a teletype system is you would input stuff in the keyboard down on the bottom, and then the computer would output things by printing it on paper on top. There's no computer screen. And because there's no computer screen, if you're editing some kind of document, you can't use your cursor keys or some other keys to move around the document. So they came up with something called a line editor, and the one people still know about is called Ed, and it's available for Linux and Unix systems, and some people swear by it. But for most people, I think we all agree it's not really ideal for editing most types of text documents, because having a cursor is just extremely handy. However, if you have a more highly structured document, I would argue that this kind of way of working still makes sense. And so that's what I've built here, is a note-taking system that has line editor commands. Why do I want that? Well, I want something that is extremely fast, extremely minimalistic, and predictable, sort of like a Russian nuclear reactor panel like this. So we can see on the surface like what all the different components are that we can interact with, and it's all very minimalistic and straightforward, and there's no magic happening behind the scenes. So this is, I want this type of Soviet technology for my second brain, and as we know, nothing is more reliable than a Russian nuclear reactor. So as I said, it's minimalistic, predictable, super fast. And then the last thing I wanted is something that just uses plain text files for storing all the data. So obviously that means that in a pinch, you can always just edit the files directly without having to use the ZEK software. Okay, here we are at a standard bash Linux terminal, and I'm in a directory that has some sample notes in it. Let's take a look at the directory. And as you can see, all the notes are just pages saved as individual text files with an MD extension. So now let me launch ZEK. All right, So one thing that these PKMS systems usually have in common is when you first launch them, they move first into a calendar or diary type of view. The reason for this is if you don't have a hierarchy built into your database, it's very important that all the notes are grounded in some way with the other notes in the database. And the most straightforward way to ground things is to have some kind of timestamps on them. So the way you create new pages in ZEK and in most PKMS systems is by linking to them from a diary view. So you can see from this diary view, it's showing me the dates for the last week. And you can see yesterday on January 23rd, I put in a couple of notes that I created 2 new pages here for geological timescales and vertebrates. Today for January 24th, I'm going to add yet another note in here for to indicate what I'm doing today. So I'm going to so now all the commands in ZEK are single letter commands, and of course the most useful single letter command is H for help. So if I type in H, we can see a list of all commands, and there are not that many of them, but they will let you do anything that you would want to with notes. You can merge notes, you can move sections of notes between notes, you can delete notes, delete parts of a note, you know, manipulate the outline, all that kind of anything that you can imagine you'd want to do with notes. But what we're gonna do first is we're gonna for today's calendar diary entry, we're gonna append a note. So I'm gonna hit A, and now I can just type in a note for today. I'm gonna say creating a screencast for ZEK. And so what I'm doing is pages that I want to be broken out separately, I'm going to put in as in square brackets. So if I hit enter here, the software recognizes that there's no page named ZEK. It's making sure that I really intend to create a brand new page, which I do. So I hit enter, and there we go. It created a new page called ZEK for me. I can now view that page. So I can so to move to another page, we use the go to command, and then I just type in an arbitrary text string for the search that I want to perform. In this case, I want to go to ZEK, but I can just type in Z because there's no ambiguity here what page I'm referring to. So here it goes to my ZEK page. I should point out that when you go to a page, it always assumes that you want to go to a page that is referenced in the current page. If it can't find any text match for that, then it will search the entire database. So for instance, if on this page now I type go to P, there's no P on my ZEK page. What it will do is it'll just show me all the pages in the database that match against P. So all the ones that have a word that begin with P. So now I can, if I want to, I can go to the Devonian period or whatever. Also, I can always hit B for back, which will bring me to the previous page, which in this case is ZEK. So let's take a look at the anatomy of a page. You can see that it's broken into 2 sections. The first section shows me all the backlinks for this page. So this is all page that referenced ZEK. Right now there's only one because it's a brand new page, and that is my diary entry for January 24th. It has an item here that references ZEK. The second section shows me the actual contents of this page, which right now, of course, is empty. And so if I want to, I can now append here, and we can say ZEK is a great tool that is, and now I can, you use hyphens to, because every page is essentially an outline, so you use hyphens to indicate indentation. So it's fast, predictable. And there we go. So now it has created those items in there. Now let me go to a little bit of a bigger page, the vertebrate page. So I'm going to go to vertebrates. This was something I entered in yesterday, information about vertebrates. And you can see again, it was referenced on January 23rd when I created the page. And then on the page for fish, because they're vertebrates, here you can see a sentence that references them. So this is really where you see the power of a Zettelkasten type system. Always going to be lots of information that's relevant to vertebrates, for instance, that we didn't actually type into the vertebrate page. But we know that they're relevant because of the references that appeared on other pages. And by making sure that it appears in here automatically, we get a lot more detail about vertebrates. Now I realize I made a mistake here. I said that vertebrates are broken into 4 groups, but it turns out they're broken into 5 groups. I forgot about mammals. So let's make some edits here to this page so you can see how the editing system works. So in order to edit something, you use the E command, and then you have to put in a reference to what line you want to edit. And the way that works is that the whole outline is numbered. Now, by default, you don't see those numbers now because I use the program a lot. I don't really need the numbers, but there's a way to toggle the numbers by using view mode, which is just the V button. And you can see now it has rewritten the outline with numbers attached everywhere. So in this case, we want to edit line 2. And if I do that, it will now show me line 2. And each word is marked with a number. So, you know, what part of that sentence do we want to edit? In this case, we want to edit word number 5. And I want to change that into the word 5. And then finish up with 6. So you can see how quickly I was able to make a pinpoint edit to a line. So now it says that vertebrates are broken into 5 groups. Similarly now, I'm going to add mammals to that list. Now there's 3 main ways to add new information to a page in this system. One is to append to the bottom with the A command. The second one is to insert using the I command. But when you insert, you are responsible for indicating the indentation relative to the root of the outline. The third way is to use the injection command, which is J for inject, and that will add the indentation for me. So if I say inject to line 2, it will now add children to line 2, and the program will automatically add the indentation. So I'm adding mammals to the list of vertebrates like that, and it now realizes, oh, there are no mammals in the database. Am I sure that I want to create a new page? And I'm going to say, I'm going to hit enter to say yes. And then I could add another vertebrate, but there aren't anymore. So I'm going to hit enter. And now you can see mammals is in that list. Now let's go to the mammal page. So GM for mammal. Of course, I could type it out and do G mammals, but I don't have to. I can just type GM. Now, and as you can see, nothing is in the mammals page except that it was referenced relative to the vertebrates page. Let's write something about mammals in here. So I'm going to append to mammals, and I'm going to say they first appeared in the Carboniferous period, but I don't remember how to spell Carboniferous. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to enter in a partial link here and hit enter. And now, because there's no matching brackets, it's going to start an interactive process to help me figure out the exact page I want to link to. In this case, you can see number 1, it found a match for Carboniferous period spelled correctly. And so now I can just type in 1 to select that, and it will automatically fill that in for me. And now I have a clear guarantee that this is strongly linked to the Carboniferous period page. So I can just hit enter now, and there we go. And then if I want to, I can visit the Carboniferous period, and there it is. So you have a basic idea around how you create new notes in this system. Now let me show you a few more advanced features of this ZEK program. I'm going to exit out of the app with quit. One thing you might realize is that there's an awful lot of empty space when you use this application, because if you're dealing with a console, text, as you know, if you run a lot of console apps, always seems to run along the left side, and there's a lot of black usually on the right side. We fixed that in ZEK, or I fixed it in ZEK, and I'll show that by decreasing the font, which would, in theory, create a lot more black space. But what I'm going to do now, if I restart the app, if I made it big enough, okay, not quite big enough yet, let me make the font even smaller, there we go. At a certain point, it will automatically move into a multi-column mode. So this works exactly the same as before, but now it just puts the text into 2 columns. So if I now go to the vertebrate page, you can see the vertebrates have now been crunched into 2 columns. And this works across the app, and as you get more comfortable in the app, your brain just kind of filters out this split, and you can interact with it completely normally. So this is one of the benefits of having a line edited mode, because this would be really hard to do in a sort of traditional PKMS app. So this means you can use small text in your console, and it will the program will take full advantage of that. So that's one feature, and you can toggle it on and off again by using the view command. So right now columns are on. If I do it again, it turns off columns, and now we just have a little more empty space but no columns. Then if I do V again, it moves into that line numbering mode that we discussed. Now let me talk a little more about the line numbers. You know, you have all the commands you would expect for working with outlines. So let's say I wanted to move mammals to the top level in this outline. So I would say, so the command for that is the less than symbol, because it's like an arrow moving that way. And the mammals are item, they're child number 5 of item 2, so 2, 5. So if I do that, it will move mammals to the top level. Now you might wonder what happens if there's more than 9 items. Well, in that case, there could be some ambiguity in the path when you indicate it with this syntax. So you have the other option of using periods. This is an alternate syntax. So this alternate syntax works for really long lists of greater than 9 items, which actually almost never come up, but sometimes you just need a list that's longer. So if I type in this command, as you can see, it moved mammals from being a child of this item to being at the top level. It's a separate item, and I can of course move it back by doing the arrow with 3, and now you can see it's back. So that's how you manipulate items in the list, and there's, you know, lots of commands there that I won't go into. Now some more advanced features. One of the things people like about PKMS systems is there's usually some sort of holistic overview graph that shows you your entire database in some kind of linear graph format. Now I have a different version of that, so I never found that graph view so useful, but I find this view very useful. So if you hit O for overview, it will show you your entire database, and it will start with the most connected node. In this case, vertebrates has a total of 8 connections. So it shows that first, and then it shows the second most connected node and the third most connected node and the last most connected node, which is this item ZEK that isn't connected to any of the vertebrate stuff that we just created. And then it puts all the children connected to that over here to the right of it. And then in the follow-up items, if a child has appeared before, it will leave it off so that it doesn't clutter it up with lots of duplication. But this really gives you a great overview, holistic overview of your entire database. Now let me talk about the last advanced feature, which is automatic syncing to GitHub. So you might wonder, what if I have multiple computers that I want to keep my notes on? And what if I want an automatic way of synchronizing my notes between those different computers? So this will happen automatically with a ZEK if you just initialize a new GitHub repository that is saved to some cloud like GitHub or elsewhere, GitLab. In that case, if you use the sync command S, it will automatically add and commit all notes, push them to the central repository, and then pull any other changes. After it pulls the changes, it will reboot the notes and fill in the information that was in the cloud. So that means if you create a note or an edit on a note on one computer, after you do sync and you sync on that one, then after you sync on another computer, it will automatically update on the fly all that information. So you can see here I'm doing S, and there it automatically pushed everything to GitHub, and it would have updated the list if there had been any edits in the cloud. Now obviously this will fail if there's a merge conflict, which people that know how Git works know what that means. But because it's all just plain text files, it's very easy to exit out of the app and make any edits like that, but that would be very rare for that to happen. Well, thank you very much for watching this screencast, and please let me know if you find this app helpful. It's going to be up on GitHub. I'll post the link. Feel free to send issues my way. Now this is alpha software, so there's lots of edge cases with this kind of complicated database app. So you can definitely break it, pretty quickly right now. I'm trying to stamp out all the bugs, and so feel free to send me pull requests or post issues, and I will try to fix things as I can so that this thing can be 100% reliable. But just understand this is in progress software, and this is a very early release. All right, thank you very much.